The forest was silent, too silent. Emily's heart raced as the wind whispered her name, pulling her deeper into the darkness. She thought she was alone, but then a voice, familiar yet chilling, called to her from the shadows. And that's when she realized she had awakened something. But what? In this terrifying journey, Emily will discover that the line between reality and nightmare is thinner than she ever imagined. With every step, the darkness closes in, until there's nowhere left to run. Stay with us till the end to uncover the horrifying truth behind this twisted forest. The night was heavy with silence as Emily stood at the edge of the forest, the air thick with the scent of damp earth. She could hear nothing but the faint rustle of branches swaying in the wind. Yet, a creeping unease began to settle in her chest. Jake had told her to wait here, but something about the stillness of the woods made her question her decision. Suddenly, a rustle came from behind her. Emily's heart skipped a beat as she turned, expecting to see Jake, but there was no sign of him. The silence returned, pressing in like a suffocating blanket. She glanced around, wondering if she should just go back. Then, a voice broke through the eerie stillness. "Emily," it whispered, faint yet unmistakable. Her pulse quickened. "Jake," she called out, but the answer was only a repetition of her name in the distance. The whisper echoed, and it wasn't just one voice. It seemed to come from all around. "Emily, you shouldn't have come." The air around her grew colder. The wind picked up like a warning. Footsteps echoed in the distance, and a figure emerged from the trees. It wasn't Jake. It was a woman, dressed in tattered clothing, her face hidden beneath wild, tangled hair. Her eyes gleamed with a strange light. "Who are you?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. The woman didn't speak. She took a slow step forward, her bare feet sinking into the damp earth. "You've been warned," she rasped, her voice barely audible, yet filled with menace. "But you didn't listen." Emily stepped back, her breath shallow. "What do you want?" Without a word, the woman reached into her torn dress and pulled out an old, worn book. Its pages were yellowed and crinkled, as if it had existed for centuries. She opened it, and a strange chant filled the air. The words were foreign, sending a cold chill through Emily's bones. As the woman's chant echoed, the trees around her seemed to bend and twist unnaturally, the wind howling like a creature in pain. Emily's legs trembled, yet she couldn't tear her eyes away. The forest was alive, and something was waking up, something that had been hidden for a very long time. The ground shook, a deep growl vibrating through the earth. From the shadows, something massive stirred, its presence so dark that even the trees seemed to recoil. Emily's breath caught in her throat. "You've awakened it," the woman whispered, her eyes glowing. "And now, you must pay the price." Before Emily could react, a figure emerged from the darkness, its eyes burning with an infernal glow. It was huge, its jagged teeth dripping with an unnatural black substance. Its claws scraped against the trees as it lumbered toward her. Emily screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the forest. The creature lunged at her, its clawed hands reaching for her. Suddenly, a voice cut through the madness. "Run, Emily, run." Jake's voice called out, distant but urgent. The creature hesitated for a moment, its gaze snapping to the direction of the voice. Jake appeared in the distance, his face pale and filled with terror. "Don't look back," he shouted. "Get out of here now." Without thinking, Emily turned and ran, her heart pounding as the creature's roars echoed behind her. The forest seemed endless, each step feeling like it could be her last. The wind howled around her, and the trees seemed to close in. She couldn't stop now. She had to get away. The ground suddenly gave way beneath her feet, and Emily plunged into a deep, dark pit. She tried to scream, but the air was thick, and her lungs struggled to breathe. The pit's walls were smooth and steep, and no matter how hard she tried to climb, there was no escape. Above her, a shadow loomed, and she heard the familiar whisper again, now colder than ever. "Emily, you can't escape." The last thing she saw before everything went black was the glowing eyes of the creature peering down at her from above. And then there was silence.